Now, football is usually a fairly serious business now and it's big business as well. But we can take a look now at what is called the Community Cup. It's been a key fixture in Melbourne for 2 decades now. It's also now in Sydney and it's expanding throughout the country. And ultimately, it will raise money for disadvantaged Australians. And let's give you a little bit of a taste of it before we interview one of the co-founders. Familiar faces there in the music world, and to tell us all about the Community Cup, which is also called the Reclink Cup, and Reclink is where the funds go. Jason Evans is the founder of the event. It's in Melbourne this weekend, and to tell us all about it, he joins us now. G'day, Jason.
Morning.
Take us back, before we talk about what it looks like now, this Community Cup, and what it's doing all around Australia. Take us back to where it all started in the early 1990s. How did it happen?
Well, a bunch of us at the Esplanade Hotel, the famous musical icon pub in Melbourne, we formed a bar team to play Chaser's nightclub, the legendary Wednesday and Sunday night nightclub in Melbourne, and we started to play footy and everyone just responded to it and loved it.
And why did you do that?
Because we liked footy and we were sick of talking about the VFL.
Yeah.
And then we met the Mission, Sacred Heart Mission in '93, who's a member agency of Reclink, and we decided to have a social game of footy for them. So it was the Espy versus the Tote back in '93.
And bit by bit, there've been money raised every year. How has it developed in the last 20 years?
Oh, it's just crazy. I think the game resembles what probably Tom Wills saw as Marn Grook in the early stages, and now we've moved to a more classy affair, as that video footage showed there. I don't recognise that at all. Music and video, and it's like a Kiss video, isn't it?
No, it's well suited to it. Well, there's great music as well. Sasquatch was the band that played at halftime last year. That was that song that we heard before, which is a terrific way to do it. Tell us about the event and how music fits in with football.
Look, I think footy and music go in hand, particularly in a city like Melbourne, where musos write about it, musos go to the game. It's in our culture. Young footballers talk about loving Tim Rogers and stuff like that, and Paul Kelly, and it's just a great thing. And I was lucky enough to think of it, and it's progressed, as you know, into something huge and around Australia. But you put the ingredients of what I think is really successful music, community radio in this country is superb, and rock and roll and footy, and you put all that together and out spits out what we know as the Community Cup. Interesting
you mentioned Tom Wells, because when I was watching the footage from this and just how many people go along and the fun element, which is huge, it is why the game really started, wasn't it? And lots of sports, not just Australian rules, but this is how it used to be, coming together and...
The mobs, the tribes, the mobs coming together, and that's the Community Cup crowd. You've got all different people. You've got people that hate football, what is the AFL. You've got people that love music, like people just coming out to a big beer garden, dog owners, all genders, all kind of scenarios. It's where the tribes meet. And I think it's aptly. We didn't know what we were going to call it when we called it. Community Cup kind of was a great tag, but it really is a great representation of Melbourne. And now we're very proud to take that to Sydney, and this year Adelaide and Perth.
Do you think people are turning up in part into not just this, but also other community football, which you've been involved in the amateurs as well as a coach and umpire and player, because the big business sometimes stinks a little bit about professional sport?
Of course it does. And I'm not here to bash the AFL over the head. They are the custodians of the game, as much as we are the custodians of the community game. And, I think the AFL have learnt their lessons by, Sunday this year, free kids, freezing prices. I mean, we've been doing that for years for the Community Cup. It's great to see the AFL catch up what we've been promoting for 22 years. Yeah. And the fact that we know the Community Cup pulls a lot of people that don't like footy, but they only go to one game of footy a year, and that's us, and you've got to love that.
Now, as I mentioned, a long history now in Melbourne, and it's going to be at Elstonwick this weekend. In Sydney, it's been going for 4 years,
4 years at Henson Park at Marrickville, which is Anthony Albanese's patch.
And I think we've got some vision here of Anthony Albanese. Played last year.
Good segue, wasn't it?
Yes, nicely done. So that's on the 2nd of August in Sydney this year. at Henson Park.
And
there.
that's the wireless.
Was that his only touch of the footy for that day?
Oh, look, I can't say that, Paul. You know, you can ask him yourself when he's the new opposition leader, perhaps.
Oh, he's been rotated there. Rotated.
like breaking
got a
news.
kick and thought that's me.
You guys got that? It's coming up. I'm hearing that all over the place. Albo, so that's great. But you know, to be honest, it's great that Reclink, who work with disadvantaged people, getting them back into mainstream sport. And as you know, we're both from football. Footy clubs are fantastic, and netball clubs too. Like in any sporting clubs, it brings people together. And there's people out there that can't, you know, go and play netball for the local club, or you know, they're kind of because they're homeless or they've got mental issues, drug and alcohol problems. So Reclink really helped the community, and it's like a little kind of narrow there with Albanese playing. That was his first game of Aussie rules football in his 50s after playing rugby league and union and stuff like that. And that's a kind of nice little catchphrase, you know, that not so much a catchphrase, but you know. That was what really sums up Reclink.
Yep, no, it's a great example. And I just mentioned in Adelaide it's on the 16th of August, and in Perth the 30th of August.
The debuts, yeah.
And Tex Perkins is going to break Paul Kelly's record if his team gets up.
He does, and he said this couch was really uncomfortable, and I'll have to report back. Perko, still uncomfortable. But it's great to be here, Paul. Thanks for your support.
It's always the same couch here. Thanks, Jason.